Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. We're here on location at Durling Park at the pickleball courts. Tony Agnesi is with me, and also Nancy Bedillion. And I tell you, they are very excited. We have some players. If you hear some noise in the background, that's some players doing their thing with pickleball. Tony, what about the history of pickleball in this country?
It's been around a long time. It started in 1965 in Bainbridge Island, Washington, and it was born out of boredom. There was some families who had vacations home there, and they were kind of bored, and there was a abandoned badminton court, and they got some ping pong paddles and a wiffle ball and started playing, and it just developed after that. It became kind of official in about 1975, and then beyond that, it grew like most sports grow, 2 or 3 percentage points a year, and then right before COVID hit, it exploded. Right now, today, as of the latest statistics, there are 48.3 million people playing pickleball. Now, to put that in perspective, there are 25 million golfers and 23 million tennis players. So if you put golf and tennis together, pickleball has more players than golf and tennis combined. Right now, a 35% increase in pickleball players just in the last year. Can you imagine how fast it's growing? And so what happens is you need more pickleball courts, and you need more places to play.
Why are some of the reasons you think it has become so popular?
Well, there's 3 reasons, I think. The first one is the ease of play. Anyone can learn to play pickleball. It is a very easy sport to learn, a very difficult sport to master. So, and Nancy has taught lots of classes, and in an hour and a half or so, she can get people hitting the ball back and forth over the net. So it's the ease of playing. Second is it's very inexpensive. You know, to play golf, I got to have golf clubs, I got to have balls, I got to have court, shoes, I have to pay for time. A paddle can cost as little as $10. They go up to $200 or $300. But with the pickleball paddle and some balls and free court access, it's an ease of entry in terms of what it costs. And then the third reason is, unlike any other sport I've ever been involved with, and I'm sure Nancy can address this, is the socialization that takes place. See how the people are laughing and joking and having fun. There's people sitting around and talking. It really is a social sport where people make friends and so forth. One of the things I ask when I coach is I say, why are you playing? What's your reason to play? Well, some people are playing for socialization. Some people are playing for exercise. Some are playing because they're lonely. They're home by themselves, widows and so forth. And then some are playing because they want to be the champion of the world and they want to, advance. So there's all sorts of reasons why people play.
Nancy, I guess you're some of the reason why we have this activity behind us. You, a few years ago, said, let's look into pickleball. Is that right?
Came back from Florida, which is where it was really big.
Right.
And came back and tried to get pickleball going here. I went to the town hall. The question, what's pickleball? They hadn't even heard of it.
Okay.
And so there are about 12 members of my family. So we started playing here. And lo and behold, people started coming down over this hill here. What are you doing? What is this? And so we formed the Wadsworth Pickleball Club and started with 12 people, mostly friends, just a few of my friends and neighbors. And we're now just under 800 members, and that's just ones who have joined with us on Facebook, just here in town.
Are you telling me there's 800 people in the pickleball club here in Wadsworth alone? You're not talking about all of Medina County.
No.
Okay.
No. And there's probably more than that. Not everybody goes on Facebook, to join. But I wanted to show the city that through numbers, that a love for this sport and that it was going to grow. And that's exactly what we showed them. And so we had to beg to put chalk down here on the court. That was our first year. Second year, we got permission to put tape. That lasted at least a few days, maybe even a week. And then we got permission to paint. And at first, it was only one court. And we were down on our hands and knees. We had to pay for the supplies. We filled the cracks. We did the painting. But doggone if people didn't start just loving this game. It was just so exciting to see that growth. And then we got permission to do it again, but with 2 courts. And now, next year, if the city comes through with the timing, we'll have 4 dedicated courts back here in the back. We'll have 2 dedicated courts down in Memorial. And when the Brickyard gets done, we're looking at tournament play down there.
Yeah, the Brickyard, there may be 4 or 6 courts
Could be-
down there
could
with
be-
200 over 200 acres,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's just exciting. Just so exciting.
Tony, why is pickleball so unique? I mean, it's got the little badminton in it, it's got a little tennis, it's got a little table tennis, but it's really different, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think the uniqueness is it combines those sports into a format that's acceptable and playable for most people. You know, we have a court that's 42 by 20. It's about a fourth of the size of a tennis court. And so mobility becomes an issue for a lot of people. I was in Naples, Florida at East Naples Park where they have 66 pickleball courts, and they have courts dedicated to wheelchair pickleball. And it is fascinating to watch people in wheelchairs be able to play the game. Nancy got us involved with a number of things. Mike Borowski leads a group of developmental disability adults on Wednesdays at the Y. We've got about 12 to 15 and a wonderful team of volunteers from the Wadsworth Pickleball Club that work with those developmental disability adults. We have entered into Special Olympics and trying to get pickleball into Special Olympics. Tina Mamone and her great team of people at the Y lead this wonderful effort for Special Olympics, and just some of the kids are just doing so great and learning so much as they go along. So in addition to playing, and we do some social activities together and so forth, but kind of giving back to the community as well and introducing pickleball to a whole new group of people.
So some people may say, well, I'm not very coordinated, I'm not sure if I can master it. That's not we're not looking at professionals. This is the reasons you mentioned. You want to try to do it.
They say, what are the barriers of entry to play pickleball? Okay. And the only barrier to entry is mental. It's I'm not good enough. I've never played a sport before. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too immobile or whatever. And throw all of those things out.
Right.
All they have to do is show up one time, spend an hour in a lesson, and they're hooked. It's a wonderful game, and there are different levels. And what we've done here, and Nancy has led this, is the Wadsworth Pickleball Club embraces everyone, accepts everyone. When we have open play, which is what you're seeing right now, we have people that are rookies, might be their second or third time playing. We have people that have been playing for 2 or 3 years, but they accept each other. They choose up teams like we used to do in baseball, Bruce.
Sure.
There's always that
bat.
always
that
that
bat
last
up the
kid
line.
at the end,
Right.
He gets picked, but every kid gets to play. In the baseball game, we could never get 9, so we had to let everybody play.
Right.
And we let everyone play, and it's just wonderful to watch the interaction with people, the socialization that takes place.
That was a good segue, Tony, because of socialization, this is just one time.
Yeah.
I mean, you see people again. You might see them next week or next month, or, I haven't seen you for a couple months, and
That's right.
people remember each other.
That's right.
And it creates good relationships, doesn't
I can't
it?
tell you how many times people come to us, don't they? And pickleball's made such a big difference in my life. I was sitting there watching TV, and I was lonely. And now, because you can come down as just a single person, you don't have to set up 4 people to play. You just come down over that hill, put your paddle in the rack, If you're new at it, you tell somebody, hey, I need some help. I'm a little new at this.
Nancy, the ball just right by your head,
right
but
by
we're still going. And a lot of laughing, like what Tony said, a lot of laughter,
But it's just so social. And, so while people are sitting there waiting, they're talking, they're laughing, they're kidding with each other. It's just made a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. A lot of times I heard, well, it's an old people's sport. This was in the beginning. And I think one of the things we recognize as we aged, our balance goes, our hand-eye coordination goes. Pickleball really helps to improve that. It makes a huge difference on our balance. But now what we're seeing, of course, it's not just us old timers out here.
Right,
We've got a lot of young people. That is really where what's the average age?
The average age of a pickleball player is 36.
That's
Excuse me, it's
surprising.
34. The average age of a pickleball player is 34.
Right.
The average age of a tennis player is 36. So pickleball is actually younger than tennis.
Right.
And so people who think it's an old person's sport, no. Wait till you see the number of young people. Root Middle School over in Medina is putting in pickleball courts. We're going to see pickleball in the grade schools, middle schools, and high schools. We're going to see the tennis team on the high school will also be a pickleball team. A lot of colleges, D1 colleges, are beginning to embrace it. As a matter of fact, they have college tournaments now in pickleball. So you're seeing a lot of younger people embracing the sport, and it's changing the sport a little bit, you know, and we can all play together. You know, the funny thing that people always talk about is the 23-year-old guy that comes out to play pickleball for his first time and gets beaten by an 82-year-old woman. And it's a little bit humbling. It's a little humbling.
Well, that's okay, because we all need a little of that. No question about it. So you also coach. What tips would you give someone that might see our show and want to try?
Well,
what
have
should they do first?
Mike Borowski teaches beginner lessons twice a month. I think he's doing it here at Durling twice a month, and during the cold months they do it at the YMCA.
Right.
And Rick Reynolds does what we call Beyond Beginners, which is for people who have played a few times and really want to
like intermediate
type and learn ground strokes. And you can just come out. You know, this morning, interestingly, I played with a family. There was an 82-year-old grandpa with his 78-year-old grandma. There was a 50-year-old daughter, and there was a 20-year-old son, all playing together, all learning the game together. And so what happens is a lot of the experienced players will coach as they go along, you know, give tips as they play and so forth. Like I say, everyone is welcome to come out. All they have to do is go to Facebook and go to the Wadsworth Pickleball Club. If you join the Pickleball Club, all of the dates and times of all of the beginners' lessons and so forth are always listed there. Everything is free. We don't charge for anything. You know, this club, Nancy founded this club. We're at just under 800 members. We don't have officers. We don't pay dues. But we do ask our members to help, because a lot of the nets you see, a lot of the lines, the painting, the crack fixing, the nets and so forth at the YMCA also are paid for by pickleball club members. So we do ask our members to contribute something to, you know, just to advance the sport, to keep things fresh, to buy balls, to buy nets and so forth, as we do. Because we have to replace nets almost on an annual basis.
Well, they're using those items. They certainly,
them
you know, all the time, and they get some wear and tear.
Yeah.
What really, I kind of took a tour of some of the signs and rules you had. I was really impressed with, if you're waiting for a period of time, you can even lower the game. The game's to 11, I guess. Is that right?
Right.
But if someone's waiting, you can go ahead and lower it to 9.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've got these benches filled. You know, people are waiting. Yeah, so we'll play till 9. You know, we want to get people in there and not having to sit too long. And that's another, I think, why the young people are so drawn to this game. It is fast. You know.
Yeah, sure.
How long does it take to play a game of golf? Or how long for a game of tennis? You know, you're committed to a long period of time, where you can come down here and, you know, in 45 minutes you can play 2 games and go home. You know,
why did MLB have all those to speed up the game, right? That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with pickleball on television. ESPN and CBS Sports and all of that are doing pickleball now. And what they like about it, you know, you watch a Wimbledon tennis match, it can go 4.5, 5 hours.
Which is starting today.
As a matter of fact.
Good timing.
But you can play pickleball in 15 to 20 minutes. And so in an hour you can play 3 games. So a lot of people will come out, play for 2 hours, they'll play 5 or 6 games. But the other part of it is, when you are sitting on the bench, that's socialization. You're talking and trading stories and getting to meet new people. We've made lots of friends, and Nancy, we've made lots of friends over the last couple of years just through pickleball.
You might say, well, I played that guy a month ago. Oh, he's gotten better.
He's gotten a lot better.
He's
sure
unbelievable. I don't want to play him now. He's really improved.
We're all in the same boat, because, okay, now, what was your name? Can you repeat?
Well, that's
you know
true.
how that goes.
Those
right?
educators, right? You got to get those kids. All right,
Exactly.
Nancy, you have let's talk about some of the equipment. Okay. Tony said it's very cheap, but
very cheap.
Here's the paddle.
This was not real cheap.
Okay, yeah.
Relatively cheap. You can buy one as cheap as $10.
Right.
You know, 4 for 40, balls, the whole bit. I always recommend, if you're a beginner and you're going to look out to maybe buy a paddle, you know, $40, $50 to get you a decent starter paddle, and then after that, then maybe you're going to go to $200. You know, you could, you know,
if you choose to.
If you choose to. But that $40 paddle, you're still going to play the game. In fact, one of our avid players, what was his name? Who played with the wooden paddle? What do we call him? Sean. Shawsky. We called him Shawsky. And he had these beginner wooden paddles. And I'll tell you, he played with that wooden paddle for 2 years now, and he became a really good player, really good. But he was amazing what he could do with that $10 paddle.
How is it, Nancy, as you play more? You kind of pick up the nuances of the game, and is it true? The more you play, the better you'll get?
Oh, like anything else,
right.
Yes. And, at first you're just trying to get the ball over that net. Just try to get it inbounds and get it over the net. Then after that, it becomes a game of strategy. So where you're placing that ball, where you're standing, how you're moving up to that net. That's the strategy of the game. So and that's the beauty of the game.
And you work with a partner. I mean that's a game within a game. I would think, Tony.
You can play singles in pickleball, and younger people do, but we play doubles. And what's really great is over the course of 2 hours, I might play with 4 or 5 different partners,
Sure.
and so it gives me an opportunity to meet different people, and they have different styles, different things that they do, and so you really learn a lot about people as you play, and you play with them and you play against them and so forth, and so you really get to know people through the game, and by playing doubles, the social part of it just takes over. It's really fun.
And the ages,
Yeah, sure. We talk about intergenerational, don't
gosh,
we?
We have 8-year-olds out here. I'm 81. We've got 80-year-olds out here with 8-year-olds.
Right. Yeah.
And how many sports can that happen?
Yeah.
At the same time. And one of the I love tennis, so I have nothing against tennis, but to play tennis, you got to find somebody of pretty equal skills to you, right? If they don't have any skills, it's not very much fun. If they're so much better than you, it's not very much fun. So the point of entry is expensive, excuse me, and the same thing with golf. Golf is a hard game to learn and a hard game to master.
Very frustrating.
And frustrating. Pickleball's an easy game to learn. Hard to master, but it's an easy game to learn.
I bet you have been overwhelmed with the growth and the popularity in Wadsworth. I mean, did you ever project that?
I knew that it was going to grow. That it was the problem was convincing City Hall that, hey, this sport is going to be huge. And not knowing anything about it, obviously they were skeptical. Obviously, but I guess I didn't think it would happen as. In one respect, it happened fast, and another, no, not so fast, because we've been trying for 5 years to get courts.
Sure.
But the growth. And that showed City Hall, hey, this is a sport that's going to be here, and we're going to offer this to our citizens here in town. So, it was wonderful. So it's a real partnership now.
We're probably the biggest city in the area without dedicated pickleball courts, and
they're all around us.
With all due respect to the people in the city, many of the other cities around us are a year ahead of us. Montville Township in Poe has 5 beautiful pickleball courts. New Franklin, Doylestown just put in brand new pickleball courts. Akron has new pickleball courts, and Barberton's putting them in 2 different great locations for pickleball in Barberton. And we still are playing on converted tennis courts. So to have the 4 dedicated pickleball courts here at Derling next year and the 2 dedicated pickleball courts at Memorial Park is really a blessing for the sport and for the people of Wadsworth. We have a lot of people in Wadsworth who are players who go out of town to play because they can play on dedicated courts. So hopefully that helps. And then the Brickyard, I'm going to try to convince them to get about 15, 16 courts there.
Right.
Yeah.
The economic impact that those cities have that have pickleball. For example, Cranberry, Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh's got 16 pickleball courts. They have a several $1 million that they bring to town when they do a tournament with hotel rooms and with restaurants and so forth. The economic impact on that small town of Cranberry is such because of that. We've seen that like with soccer here at Mull Park, where we've had tournaments that have brought in money and people come from 4 or 5 different states and use the hotels and
Soapbox Derby and some other things. Yeah, right. Sure.
And pickleball has the ability to do that exact same thing. And with the numbers we have, I just think it's going to explode even more. 35% growth in pickleball in the year 2022. That doesn't even take into account what's happened since January of this year. We regularly see 10 to 12 brand new people that show up for a beginner's class.
Oh, yeah.
Or we have too many people for one class and have to do two. And that's every single time we offer a class.
We have a lot of people moving in from other communities to Wadsworth. We're really a community that attracts a lot of people.
Right.
And are they certainly, can they get involved in pickleball? Do you teach a class too?
So not anymore.
Okay,
I have
okay.
since. I can't tell you how many I have taught.
Okay.
In the beginning.
Why don't you guess? Why don't you tell us?
I don't
possibly?
know. Maybe a couple hundred. Maybe.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
But now I've got Tony, and where's Borowski? He's around here somewhere. And, we've got people like
Right.
these young guys.
That have some patience. As a teacher, you have some patience,
But
right?
and then and I'm in Florida playing pickleball all winter long.
Bruce, we've had on the courts right here at Durling, we've had people from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We've had people from California. We've had people from Iowa. We had a couple from Minnesota come by. The one guy that comes in every year. And I can't remember where he's from. Is he from Wisconsin? He's from Wisconsin. Comes, plays with us every year.
Because his mother-in-law lives down
Yeah, so we have people. We have a young guy that lives in Mexico that's from Wadsworth that came back to play and wanted to know where he could play pickleball. So we've seen people from all over, and what's really nice about it is, I played in Mexico and I played in Panama and played in Florida, and I played in Mexico where nobody spoke English, but yet you can play pickleball. If you can count to 10 in Spanish, you can. If you can count to 10 in Spanish, you can play. I remember my doubles partner for a couple of games in Nuevo Vallarta was a Japanese girl, and we were fantastic together. She didn't speak a word of English. I didn't speak a word of Japanese, and neither of us spoke Spanish.
You spoke this language of pickleball.
The language of pickleball. Yeah.
Well, Nancy, thank you very much for all your leadership and help. Tony, thank you very much. I learned a great deal. I learned a great deal about pickleball.
Good.
And hopefully people will still continue.
One of these could fit your
It fits right in there.
Even with bad eyesight, maybe.
That's right,
for sure.
that's right.
Thanks for viewing Bruce on the Loose, and we'll have another show next week.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.